What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how wide receivers can avoid knee injuries. So we're going to be looking at the two knee injuries from this past year from John Mechie and Jameson Williams from Alabama, and then we're going to be showing two examples of pretty much the exact same type of break and how you guys can avoid hurting yourself with proper form on a specific cut. So I hope this video helps you guys out. And also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to get some work in with us this offseason, with myself and my staff of coaches, we're going to be coming out to 6 different locations across the country. We're going to be traveling out next to Columbus, Ohio, then Chicago, Illinois, then Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Los Angeles, California. So these camps, fellas, these are not like those camps where you get 150, 200 kids out there and it's about running drills and just getting you through as fast as possible. We're actually going to develop you and coach you for 2 whole days. And the only way we can do that is with limited spots, only 10 to 12 guys per position group. So if you guys are interested in something like that, want to get better with us this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get started with this video. So first things first here with this cut from Jameson Williams. So the main thing I want to talk about here is we're playing it in slow motion is the foot strike. So many wide receivers love to reach on their cuts, reach outside of their frame. And I don't necessarily like showing injuries like this, but I feel like it's a good learning moment for everybody. Because again, this is a tough thing to deal with, especially as an athlete. Anybody who's ever dealt with an injury knows that. So when he goes to strike in the ground, he's going to make this cut with the ball in his hands. This is no different than a wide receiver running a post route, an out route, a corner route, whatever it might be. So when you go to make that cut, it's very, very important that you make this cut inside of your frame. You're not trying to run, because again, football is a very fast game. You're running always trying to run full speed, trying to make cuts going full speed, because you got to play fast, because the guy lined up across from you is fast. So when you reach outside of your frame on a cut, that can put a ton of stress on your knee and your ankle, because when we reach for a cut, you end up striking the ground with your heel first. So when you end up striking the ground with your heel, and your heel hits the ground, what ends up happening is all the energy in your leg shoots up, right? And so when all that energy in your leg shoots up, what do you think your leg does? It extends and it goes up. And so when you reach outside of your frame and that leg is almost extended and you're striking the ground on the heel, that can put a ton of pressure on that knee. And that is ultimately what ended up kind of helping him tear, his ACL, whichever was MCL, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was the ACL. But again, you reaching outside your frame and you striking the ground incorrectly puts a ton of pressure on that knee, right? And so a lot of people think that, oh, well, if I try to do any of these cuts, I'm going to hurt myself. And that's not necessarily like, if you're a young wide receiver who doesn't have very strong legs, doesn't have strong ankles, strong knees, I don't suggest you going out there first play trying to run a 10-yard speed out and cutting off of 1 foot, because yeah, you might hurt yourself because you just are not strong enough to do that. That's why it's so important to work on those things, to work the correct drills, to work the right work in the gym. And I guarantee you, Williams did all of that. So it has to do with the form of the cut, right? So now let's play the next example. And now this is going to be a dig route, right? So this wide receiver is running a dig off of one single speed cut. This is one of the harder cuts that anybody that plays wide receiver knows this is a tough cut, because when you're running full speed and you got to make a 90-degree cut, whether that's out or in, that is very tough to do off of 1 foot. It's easier to snap down. It's easier to take 2 steps or rocker step, but off of 1 foot, it's incredibly challenging. So when he's running full speed up into this break, I want you to see, where is he striking the ground? On the arch of his foot, because that is where the explosive spot is and where the balance is. You got to think of it like any lift that you do in the gym. Like, let's say you're doing squats. Say you're under a barbell and you're doing squats. Are you on your tippy toes? No. Are you on your heels? No. You're on that middle arch of that foot. That's where your power is. So that's where you want to strike the ground, but also that's how you get balance. When you're riding, when you're on, for example, I don't know how many of you surf, but if you're surfing, are you on your tippy toes? Are you on your heels? No, you're on that middle part of your foot balancing that weight. That is what's going to help you guys not put pressure on the knee or the ankle when you make a cut at a fast pace. You have to live on that arch of your foot. Now, a lot of people will disagree with that. A lot of people say, oh, you never want to be flat-footed. And I'm not saying you want to be flat-footed. That's when you're on your heels. You're flat-footed on your heels. But a lot of people say, oh, you always want to be on your toes. Good luck trying to make a cut running full speed like this when you're on your tippy toes. You can't do it, right? Imagine if he was trying to run this hard and make a cut and he was on his tippy toes. He would fall flat on his face, right? So it's got to be a balance. You want to have balance, but you also want to be safe. And you see how when he makes this cut also, it's not outside of his frame. You see how when he makes this cut, his upper body is committed to it. His hips and his shoulders are turned to this cut. If he makes this cut, but his hip is like pointed this way, his shoulders pointed this way, he's trying to get out of there with his upper body before that gets down, that's when we got a problem, and that can injure yourself. So we have to make sure, fellas, we have the cut inside my frame, and I'm doing the right, correct foot strike. Now, again, I don't mean to critique Jameson Williams, hell of an athlete, hell of a receiver, and it's a shame that we have to show a clip like that, but I think it's a good learning moment for you guys, right? I don't mean it to make a light on his injury and, and try to criticize it and say, oh, he should have done this different, because accidents happen, and I guarantee you he wasn't trying to do that. But I show this because there are a lot of wide receivers who haven't been coached on this stuff because maybe they lack the coaching, maybe there isn't that high level of coaching in their area, whatever it is, but you guys have to understand this to be able to make these breaks, because a lot of the breaks that we talk about, if you just go out there and do it and you have no experience, no leg strength, nothing, and you have wrong form, it's a good way to hurt yourself. So you just have to make sure that you know these things going into playing this position. I'm going to play this clip full speed one more time, then we're going to look at John Mechie's injury, and I think that one's a little bit more technique based, and a lot of people can get a lot of benefit out of this. So when he goes to make this route or make this break, he's snapping down on a route, and this is the cut that everybody loves to criticize. Oh, coach, I don't want to snap down. I'm going to tear my ACL, right? That's my favorite thing to hear all the time, because you talk about snapping down, talk about the right form, and everybody's hesitant because they're like, oh, I'm going to hurt myself. And you can hurt yourself on any cut, on anything with incorrect form. You can hurt yourself in the gym with bad form. Seriously hurt yourself with bad form. That's why form is so important, and that's why details is so important when you're running routes. So when he gets into this break, right, and again, same idea. This is an accident. Guarantee you he wasn't trying to do this, but this is something that a lot of wide receivers do. He leaves the cut before, he leaves his feet with his body before the foot even gets down, and that will naturally make your foot outside of your frame. Notice a trend here. All these injuries are kind of happening when that foot is outside of their frame and they have incorrect foot strike. So when he gets into this break and he snaps this thing down, right? Feet are underneath him. He's doing a good job. This is a balanced position. He's made this break 100 times before. But sometimes wide receivers, what they like to do is they rush out of the break with their upper half. They try to get out of it too quick before that foot plants. And you see how his body is leaving before the foot gets down? Look at how extended his foot is, and look at how much pressure is being put on his knee. That is where the injury happens, fellas. And you see, if he would have just committed his body one more step and would have had his hips and his shoulders committed with that cut, that injury probably wouldn't have happened like that. Now, again, like I said, he guarantee you he wasn't trying to do this, and he's made this break probably 100,000 times correctly. It's just one of those freak accidents, right? But if you're a wide receiver and you're doing drill work and you're maybe new to this, you have to know that this is some of the stuff that you got to think about. Because if you're hesitant, if you're worried about it, I might hurt myself, it's an awkward cut for me, you have to think about these things. You have to commit that body to the cut, and the feet need to be underneath your shoulders. Okay, so let's play this thing full speed again. Then we're going to show a good example of this type of break and how wide receivers can keep those feet under their cut so it avoids putting pressure on that knee. So now, second thing here, this is like a slant out route from this wide receiver, right? So he snaps down, very similar to what we saw. It's a different type of break, right? This is more like a they call it a blaze out rather than like a stop route, but you're still snapping down, dropping your hips at a fast speed. And sometimes snapping down and making a 90-degree cut is a lot harder. So when he snaps down, you see how he drops his hips, right? That second step, where is that? Inside of his frame. Now, the step that hurt Mechie was his plant, I believe it was Mechie. What hurt his plant step was the step that hurt him was his plant step. So that would be like this third step. This third step from this wide receiver right here is his plant step. But you see when that strikes the ground, it's under his frame. His body is committed to it. It's not way out here. Because when that third step can plant and you're in a balanced position and that's not way outside of your frame over here, that doesn't put that kind of pressure on your knee. But when you can keep that step inside that frame, and you see how his feet are inside of his frame, and you're not trying to leave with your body before the foot gets down, you're letting the foot push you out of there, that is what can help you avoid that injury. So when you guys snap down, make sure that your feet don't get outside your frame. If you're running like a comeback, for example, and let's say you're going up and you're making a comeback break, at that break point right there, like let's say the quarterback's over here, you'd be snapping down, I teach with your left foot. So you'd snap with your left, and whether you take like 5 steps, 3 steps, your left foot would also be the leg that plants you out and drives. So let's say 3 steps. I'm not a big steps guy, but let's use it for the sake of figures. Let's say that's the cone. You snap with the left, you pivot your right foot, and then your left foot is the hook step that drives you out. right? Just think about it in threes. So the left snaps you down, you get low. Pivot off the right, but if your body leaves before that second left foot gets down, before that third step, and your body gets out of there, that is what puts the pressure on your knee. All three of those steps have to be under your frame, and you got to push off of that step while it's under your frame to get you out of the route. Okay, so let's play this thing full speed again one more time. Great technique, great job staying balanced and keeping his feet underneath his frame and not reaching for the break and not getting out with his body too quick. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions on this, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. I always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you'd like to come out to one of our off-season camps, we're traveling out to Columbus, Chicago, Dallas, Nashville, Salt Lake City, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys would like some more information on that, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.